And we should be live right now. It seems like we're live. What is up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Rad, as always, and I'm here with Robo Strange, really the strangest Robo right here, right here. And we got a special guest. We have Jono Diener, and we're going to get into some really cool stuff. We're going to talk about punk rock, comic books, and coffee, which is just the awesomest combination of things. I'm very excited to get into it. Jono, what's new? How's life?
First of all, hello. Life is very good and very busy. So today was a great example of, I think there were like 7 major life project things that I was like working on. Like I woke up at like 7 today, started doing an email, started doing more work. And then I was like, okay, so it's 8 p.m. The podcast is going. But yeah, it's been very good. Doing a bunch of coffee stuff with Rootless Coffee. I'm doing digital marketing with Karma Jack Digital Marketing Agency, working on new comics, pitching new stuff, having stuff come out. It's been bonkers. But yeah, lots of stuff. So I'm stoked to talk about it.
Oh yeah, I'm doing lots of stuff too.
Well, it's good talking to you guys.
Yeah. You were checking IDs at a desk at one day. Like I was like all night. It's really exciting stuff.
I told you last week I memorized all of the Jelly Belly flavors. I swear, you break out any Jelly Belly, I'll tell you what it is.
Red.
Red.
That's right.
Cherry.
Flavors are colors.
Cool. So before we get into, we're going to get into some other stuff, but just real quick, I want to talk about what you guys have been reading lately could be comic books, and it doesn't even have to be reading. It could be like, what have you been watching? What have you been nerding out on? Let's go ahead and start with Jono.
So I don't read. No, I'm just kidding. So because of WandaVision, I finally read House of M. Because I'm a huge poser, so there's me finally doing it. So there was a while where like every night comics were my wind down. I was like 9 p.m. and I'm like, no more work. I'm going to read. And then I was like, I read comics so much better on an iPad. So I started staring at more screens. And then I'd be like, I'll just do this email really quick. And then it just turned into this infinite loop of always doing work. And I'm like, no, stop. So I have like made myself take a break from certain things. So I just read the issue 1 of Helm Greycastle last night. My friend Henry is working on that, and it's coming out on Image, and I'm super excited for him. It's really, really good. Thanks, Danny M. I could interact. I know how Twitch works or whatever. I'm a millennial. Where was I? Sorry, I distracted myself. This is going to be...
You messed it up. You're supposed to engage and go back. Engage and go back. Like,
I'm going to just be talking and be like, what did they say? Anyway, but I read that. What I'm super into now, though, is Superman's friend, Jimmy Olsen.
Nice.
Because I'm a huge Matt Fraction fan. He's just hilarious. And I tell a lot of people, like, when I read the first run of Hawkeye, or his run of Hawkeye, rather, that's what made me realize I could write comics. Because I was like, oh, you could do this? Like, I didn't know you could be like that. Okay, I'm in. This is good.
It's such a, like, chill, casual, and, like, he's got, like, such a real, like, dude, like, just person writer's voice. Like, when you read that Hawkeye run, it's, like, it's not that superhero vibe. It's just, like, I'm just a dude. He's just a dude. I like it.
Very like conversational language. That's how I always talk about it. And then like the situation, like it made me realize I love when things are grounded and like there's not like 500 Avengers and it's just Hawkeye and his dog and like some stuff that happens around the neighborhood. That's just super exciting to me. So that, and then I just read Reckless and Pulp from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Those are great. Pulp is amazing. I love that creative team, man. I don't think I've ever read anything from Brubaker that wasn't amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, he's so good.
Right on. Good deal. Robo, what have you been doing? Not reading comics.
No. This time I have something, and I'm kind of mad that I called myself out like that last week because I have been reading comics, and it's the Miles Morales run, and from Ultimate Comics. And that's really what I've stuck to. I think so. We have the Jason Aaron Thor run that I was like addicted to, and then every other run that I'm like, okay, yeah, I got the gist, and I fall off. Right? Unfortunately, X-Men was such a story where I was like, yes, I'm here for it, and it's kind of like doing that as we go.
Talk about House Dawn of X, X-Men.
Yeah. It's kind of fell off. I'm gonna trade wait now, and then I'll wait for the Omnis and all that. But check this out. Miles Morales. What a great story. So I started off with Death of Peter Parker. And the way that the art works on these, it just really kind of like it's a curveball, because what you have is like scenes that just don't seem to match the artwork for me, to where you feel like you're reading this comic. Like, I want to know the history. I want to know all of Miles Morales through Secret Wars and how he got to 616, all that, right? And so I'm reading it, and the art kind of like lulls you into this is written for like 15, 14. I'm like, okay, too easy. I still want to know the story. And then like Scorpion blows someone's brains out, like right in front, but it's like a civilian person, or it's like, I'm like, oh my God, oh, this is real. And so I'm like, okay, great. If anybody out there has not gone through the Ultimate Spider-Man run, was it from Bendis, right?
Mm-hmm. Bendis.
So good. So that's what I've been doing.
Was Sarah Pichelli the artist on that?
Yep. It's Sarah Pichelli.
She's so good. So I like the art. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like it. It just comes with a certain vibe to it that's not like dark and gritty, right? So it's not a Stegman like monstrous kind of thing going, right? So it kind of lulls you into a Disney Saturday morning cartoon deal, and then it's like, just kidding, I'm going to show you ripping this head off now.
I think it's not to interject, but I think one of my favorite things though is taking these alternative takes to the comics world, right? Because like our brains are so we're almost hardwired to be like Todd McFarlane, like blah, blah, like when you think of these certain things, but then you present like when Bendis always does like really heartfelt stories, he's like Mr. Dialogue or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you pair that with these different artists and colorists and and you're like it's just the same as like reading a panel, right? So you have an image and then you have words, and they're both doing two different things at the same time, but together they make you feel a unique way, right? So that's why like with that specific run, or whenever there's, I just finished reading November, and I don't know if either of you have read it, but it's super good too. But it's just a very like unique art style. Like all of these things combining together just makes this really interesting feeling. And you remember that more than, oh yeah, it looked really good. Like, cause it's not good or bad. They're all styles.
That's right.
And once not to go on a tangent, but once like, your brain gets attuned to that, that's what's most memorable. And that's when I like kind of fall in love with that kind of stuff.
100%. I completely agree. So real quick in the chat, New Yorkers represent. So check this out. I got yelled at a couple months ago by like a straight up puro New Yorker. I was born in New York. I am Puerto Rican, but I like left New York when I was little. So I'm just going to put that out there before I get yelled at again. Like, oh, you're not even from New York. You're a poser. I was raised in California. So what else? What else do we have here? I don't even speak Spanish. Was Robo always the Robo, or is it because of the villain? So my personal brand, my thing that I do Twitch with and my Instagram is the Robo Strange. So yeah, I guess it's always been Robo, but I always just go by Robo here. I'm the Robo. And I need a Persian cat now because of my mustache. What else? Those are all for me. That was super selfish. Let's see what else we got here. Actions run on Hawkeye and Immortal Iron Fist were awesome. Also, sex criminals. That's dope.
I like sex criminals. Not in real life, but
are so good. Love those quarterly crime books. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Not only comic books, but I'm a gamer too. I just got on God of War. That's been taking like my whole life. And so my whole life is God of War and Dead by Daylight. And so that's what I've been up to. That's what I've been up to. Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen. If you watch anime, Jujutsu Kaisen, so good. That's all I'll say about that.
Nice.
It's a good review.
Nice. So good.
And that's been the Robo Strange review.
So good. 2 stars.
Yeah.
Cool. What did I pick out last week? I got Noctera by Scott Snyder, and I freaking loved it. It's kind of like what's the name of that movie where everyone has to be quiet? And if they make noise,
A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place. It's like a Quiet Place, and it's.
I don't know if you were joking when you just said that.
Where everyone's in that place where you got to be quiet.
Oh, Silent Hill, yeah.
I wasn't, but I still enjoy how that went down. I read Department of Truth by James Tynion, and I loved it. It's like some crazy like QAnon inspired shit, and it's just fucking insane. And then Crossover by Donny Cates, obviously. I'm never gonna stop. I'm reading that every time. And then Eternals, King in Black, and then I read Berserker, and that's like the Keanu Reeves, Matt Kint thing, and it's really badass. I mean, it's basically if you like.
It was that build up, and everyone's like,
yeah. Does he like it?
It was.
Sorry to interrupt your flow there.
I'll tell you one thing about that fucking comic. It was not so bad. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was all right. It was great.
Yeah.
It was the best mediocre comic ever.
And then before the show, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, I just finished reading ENIAC #1 from Bad Idea. I got the first printing and the value shot up, so I refused to open it. So then I got the second printing, and that's the one I'm going to read and then give to Robo. And it's pretty good. Looking forward to seeing what else they do. We're going
for $400 on eBay. The other one's going for $5 on eBay. Guess which one he gives me.
Right.
What a friend.
So we're gonna ask Jono some questions about his body of work and his life. But first we just got approached for our very first paid ad. We're sponsored. This episode's sponsored. So let's talk a little bit about our sponsor real quick. John Simmons wrote a comic book, and it is called Sin Eater, and I was reading it last night. It's pretty badass. So the premise here, 14 men and women survive the destruction of the Tower of Babel. They are tasked with, is it Babel or Babel?
I say Babel. I say Babel.
Tower of Babel.
But it's from your people's part of the Bible, so I don't know.
Well, I definitely didn't read that. So they're tasked with saving man's soul through the act of consuming all of accumulated sin. Through the ravages of time, the Sin Eaters are always there. They view everything that you have ever done and defeat your inner demons in order for your soul to be free. Sin Eater follows Marcus and Jin as they try to absolve mankind's sins, but something dark and sinister lurks in the shadows. Someone or something is causing these demons to manifest in the real world. Can Marcus and Jin discover who is behind the plot to destroy mankind, or will the world fall into chaos? So this is live. Okay, thank you for the echo. This is live and it's already funded. So if you back this project, you're getting the book. We have the link in the description for this video. If you like just like kind of visceral, like almost, there's definitely a photo real style of the art, but if you like that kind of visceral, like action-packed, Satan sort of like kind of biblical action type stuff, I think you're really gonna like it. I definitely enjoyed it, but definitely check that out. So anyway, I'm gonna make myself small now. So Jono,
speaking of sponsors, so I'm just gonna be
Breathless Coffee.
Oh yeah, so
when you need to pick me up,
I don't bow down to any sponsor.
So, but I want to ask you about your work. But first, I want to ask you about your coffee. Tell me something about coffee that I didn't know, and tell me something special about your coffee, please.
The thing about coffee you didn't know is coffee is not actually a bean; it is a seed.
Oh.
Wake up, plebeians!
Oh, all these sheeple. All these goddamn sheeple thinking it's a bean. All right. That's pretty good. All right. So you're
legit didn't know that. Yeah. Usually people do it like a thing you didn't know. And I would say at least 7 out of 10 times I'm like, that's okay, great. That was one of the 3 out of 10. I was like, oh my God.
Is your coffee an Arabica or I don't know. That's the only kind of coffee I know. So
yes. Tyler,
what's up? Apparently it's great.
If you don't know Tyler, he is the publisher of A Wave Blue World, a wonderful publisher. That was a redundant sentence, but Tyler's great. And we'll talk about Maybe Someday Soon, which was put out on A Wave Blue World, a wonderful publisher. So back to our sponsor. Rootless was pretty much spawned during the pandemic in the sense of my friend and I were in 2 different career situations where he just exited a third wave coffee company. I'm always me, so I'm doing like 50,000 things at once. So I just got out of a marketing agency because I'm obsessed with business and marketing and that stuff. And also being a total goofball weirdo, which is where the comic stuff and music stuff and all that comes into play. So when it was like the week I left my job, our mutual friend Dom reached out and was like, he wants to talk about like advertising and stuff. Like, I don't know if you have any ideas. Like, I know you're not super close with them, but if you want to meet up. And we like sat down and we started talking. And keep in mind, like, this was last summer. And I am like so close with Sean, my now business partner. But the first conversation was like, you know what I hate that coffee companies do? And then that turned into like a 4-hour discussion. And it was just like, I'm so tired of people like setting these parameters for themselves and having to stick in it. And like, they all end up like, and don't get me wrong, I love hipster coffee so much. Like, I am a sucker for that stuff. Like, if I see like a really like plain looking building with like a cool little tiny logo and like $10 pour overs, I'm like, let's go. But like,
do you like designs in your foam?
Are you saying latte art, sir?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
You're trying to say latte art. So don't worry, I was a barista for a long time, so I know all about it.
Are you the meme? Are you the barista meme?
Yes.
Okay.
That whatever it is, yes, I am.
Okay.
But
you're their meme, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So I've been in like third wave. So are you familiar with what third wave coffee is, by the way? I keep saying it, but figured I'd ask.
Is it like third wave feminism?
So it's different because it's coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So this is essentially like high-end coffee that the whole thing is about like taking care of the process, not just like mass producing it. Like, you do stuff by hand, blah, blah, blah. So that's third wave coffee.
So it's way better.
Yeah. So it's usually a little bit more pricey and all that kind of stuff.
So third wave feminism, got it.
Yeah. So it's a little, there's all of these things, but I'm just going to say, so when we were talking about this company, like, we both worked at third wave places. I also worked at Starbucks for years. Like, so I've been in the trenches of coffee, being yelled at by people, all this kind of stuff. So essentially what we did was, how do we get really high-end coffee, but package it so literally anyone can understand it and have access to it? So the conversation started with that. And then we were like, let's have really cool art. So I'm a comic writer. I have a bunch of comic artist friends. I could reach out to them. And when I was in bands, I worked with a ton of artists for our merchandise and our album artwork and all that. So my whole network is photographers, videographers, and artists. So I was like, I wonder we could just do something cool and like make it stick out. So it started like that, and then we were like, well, how do we make it accessible? Okay, so first of all, dark coffee is a no-no in third wave. Like it's like lame and whatever. And we were like, let's launch with a dark coffee too. And we're like, okay. And then we're like, let's grind coffee if people want it for anything. So we're like, okay, so we offer any type of coffee. Liana's the best. And also Matt's the best too. But mostly me says hi.
No, there has to be one. You have to pick one. Best.
Oh, Liana, because Matt didn't type anything, so he can go fuck himself. So it got to the point where we're like, we can give you any type of coffee. We can grind it. So like literally we tripled our base because people are like, no, whole bean only, like blah, blah, blah. And most people don't have a grinder, so they can't do anything, right? So it got to the point where once we started working with the comic people, that's when like the identity really started coming in. And that's when I was like, this feels like something, because the coffee's like damn good. Like Sean, my business partner, is just an unreal roaster. So it was like, okay, so we could make like people like us who are like, whatever, I don't care. That looks cool. Like that's what it's for. So then people get it and they try it and they go, what the hell's going on? Because they don't expect it to be great. They think it's just gonna be like some like generic whatever stuff. So that was kind of like how we launched. And then we have just this awesome crew of artists. So Liana Kangas, who was just posting, she just did our most recent one, Coast. And essentially it was like, I want to do something where like there's someone on a longboard and it's like a cool vibe because it's like a mellow tasting coffee, because it's like, you know, these certain flavors that are not like harsh and they're not whatever, but it's also from an all women owned and operated farm. Like there's just like this cool stuff about it. So I hit up Liana and then we just talked about like music and some other stuff. And then she threw the design at us and we were like, whoa. And, you know, and that's how it works, because it's not like, it's almost like buying a print from someone. That's what makes it feel special. So I get to be like, hey, comic artist, I could throw you money. And then they could be like, here's some stuff that you could have. And then people are excited about having the stickers, or like I have friends that have been collecting the bags and just like putting them on their counter and stuff.
So like you're going to have people like me who buy the bags and then I just never open it. I go and get it CGC graded and sealed. And then I have this coffee like on my wall unopened forever. Is that that's what you're going for? Or?
Yeah. So the idea is, but you have to keep buying it though. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you know how people have like their reader comic and then they have their first printing CGC one. It's going to be like, this is my drinker coffee and here's my graded coffee bag.
We should grade coffee.
Yeah.
I think
you should. But I don't think coffee's like MREs. I think that eventually that collectible that you have on your shelf is going to be pretty disgusting after a certain amount of time. So,
well, the good news is, so we highly encourage people to like display it, but for display purposes, it does lose quality once every week. So you just have to get a new bag and keep re-upping.
Oh, I'll do that. Get a subscription.
Yeah, exactly. And it's sorry, my strings are in the way. Silly me. It's rootlesscoffee.com. But yeah.
Have you signed a coffee bag yet?
No.
You should.
But
okay.
It's probably because I haven't like been places. So
okay.
Not saying that would be a thing, but
why? What's going on in your part of the world that would stop you from going places?
I just hate people.
What's going on? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not the plague. Now you talked a lot about your coffee, which I'm glad, because I'm already sold and I'm gonna buy that. However, you do comics too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the thing about Rootless Coffee.
So you kind of recommended reading the maybe Someday and the Inevitables, and you sent us some stuff, and I did read that, but actually I kind of want to talk about Monster Bounty first.
Oh hell yeah! Cool.
Yeah. So like I was reading you have a lot of stuff available on your website, and I was reading the Monster Bounty, and that was definitely like the one that I thought was the most, what's the word? The most comic booky of the things that you have there, yeah. And it's just really cool. I really like it. What went into that? What inspired that? Just kind of give me the background on that.
So for more of a background on my site or whatever. So jonodiener.com. Essentially, I fell in love with comics and I wanted to start building to the point where I could have like a full single issue comic. And when you don't have any contacts or whatever, it comes to like you work with close friends, you start building stuff. So on my site, it's mostly like 5-pagers, like little mini comics that I worked with. And it was people that weren't even really in comics. It was like multimedia or just like cool artists I knew. And I'm like, we've always both wanted to do a comic. Let's try it. So there's about like 4 or 5 of those that are like that. And my thing was like, I want to do this so bad. I'm going to do whatever it takes and I'm going to just bust ass. And so boom, 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 boom. So I like launched with like 4 or 5. And then my friend Craig Horkey is just like a god tier artist. He's done like amazing posters and t-shirt designs whenever he did the damn fine cup of coffee. But see, I'm always going to bring it back. But I did 2 of my comics with him, my very first one. And then one that was in Everything is Going Wrong, which is another anthology. So again, those all these like little mini guys. And I went to Heroes Con and pretty much I knew that Liana was going to be there. I was her friend, but I never met her in real life. And I was just like wandering around for like 3 days. And I think it was on the first day I like got near Matt Emmons' booth and Liana ran up and was like, "You two need to be friends." We're like, "What?" And she ran away. And that was like the introduction. I'm like,
Nice.
"Hey, what's up, guys?" Hey. And it was just like Matt and his girlfriend were just like shooting the shit. And then turns out his artwork is ungodly amazing. Like he has such a distinct style where it has like this cool, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like very like grimy and dark, but like weirdly beautiful. Because he always does these really cool landscapes and like dystopian looking things, but there's like these like shreds of hope, and that's like the me that I always get attracted to. So we started talking or whatever. I was like, "Hey, if you guys want like Starbucks and stuff, I know you're stuck here. I could go grab it if you want, because I got a 3-day ticket and I'm by myself. So I don't know. I'm from Michigan. I need something to do." And so then we're bonding over this stuff, whatever. And then after that, we just started talking and like being kind of like buddy. And he mentioned like casually, like, "Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm kind of tired of like having to write my comics that I draw. Like, I wish there was like and I'm like,
Ba-bing.
first of all, artists don't say that. They just go, writers are obsolete. We don't fucking need them. But like writers are always like, "Oh, I want someone to work with." So like, I don't know where it came from, but I was like, this is weird. And I'm not trying to be like pushy. But I think it would be really cool if we can do something together, you know? Also, howdy. See, I can talk and then come back to it, even though I acknowledged it right after, but don't worry about it. So I was talking to Matt and trying to like, you know, just like feel him out. And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, that was easy. Okay. So this is where,
Ooh.
That's the real test. I'm just going to throw these up to see what you do every time I throw them up.
If you do that, I'm going to start changing my light.
Yeah.
Screw with you guys. Listen, I'm concentrating with a bright light at my face, so I'm giving you all I got right now.
This is it. This is 110%. I love it.
So to speed up the story for my ADD sake, I was talking to Matt. He was stoked on the idea. I was like, "What are things you like based on what I've seen?" I kind of have an idea. And then there were, it was when they announced The Mandalorian. I think it was when they announced it or they showed something. And I remember being like, "Dude, that's the best." Like, I'm obsessed with Boba Fett, his character design and everything. And I was like, I've always wanted to write like a masked thing. And so far in comics, it was like, these are like slice of life, realistic kind of situations. That was like the stuff I was writing. But I'm like, but my heart isn't like that. That was like, essentially I'm writing like a personal essay or whatever. And then this was like, oh, I could project that stuff in a different form, which is my ideal way of comic writing. Yeah. So I was like, I want to do, and this is going to sound hilarious in retrospect. It's like, I want to do like a Mandalorian style thing, but like the catch is like, they don't take off their helmets.
Because this is the way, right? Yeah.
I legit have didn't know that was the thing. And I was like, Matt, we all love character designs where they have like masks and helmets. They don't take them off. That's it. That's the thing. Because they're just cool. Like my favorite villain is Shocker. And everyone's always like, really? I'm like, yes, he's so cool. I've been obsessed with him since I was a little kid, just because it's like you take like grimy little street punk guy and then throw him into like cool, bizarre costume, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Drip Coffee is your typical break room coffee maker. It's like Coffee Pot, Mr. Coffee, whatever. And it's a medium coarse grind. More so medium. But back to the stories. I'm getting better.
You're so good.
I was going to make a Twitch joke, but I'm going to cut myself off before I do that. Because I also don't remember any of the terminology. I was going to be like, yeah, send me
Hoggers.
likes or I don't know. So Matt and I start talking, and then I was like, actually, I forgot which comic creator it was, but they said something along the lines of like a good writer can write a comic scene where all of the characters are in a car together and they go into a tunnel and you only see the word balloons and you still know who's talking because their voices are that distinct. And I was like, well, I've been writing like music journalism for years and like doing my own like essays and short stories and whatever. How do I like hone in on what I think is a good character voice? So I'm like, all right, I'm going to have 3 main characters. I'm going to give them super wild personalities, and I'm going to just like hammer on that. Then I was like, what if it's like sci-fi and dystopian, but Matt loves monsters, so there's a monster too. And so I just started like adding these things, but I was like, I have it all written on a piece of paper. Now, how do I make it a story that makes sense? And it's not just like, here's a junkyard of stuff. And that's when it came together. So I was like, I was obsessed with Red Dead Redemption, and Mandalorian was coming out, and like all of these things that I was obsessed with, whether it was from afar or like being like invasive into it, I was like, I'm just going to write what I feel and just go with it. And it was like one of the easiest things I've ever written. And it's probably one of my favorite things I've ever written. And unfortunately we never got to like continue with it because COVID hit right after. And I started like jumping onto other things, but you know, I'd love to revisit it because it's very much like an issue number 1, and there's a lot of stuff we can do with it.
I'd like to see it revisit. I'd like to see that world revisited. That was cool.
Yeah, there was an idea for a series, and then when it comes like comic world, like pitching is a whole thing. So you could do a ton of work, and like again. I love the process because I'm a sucker for like having reasons to work harder. So when it comes to like pitching, you come up with all this stuff, you pitch to someone, you wait at least a month, and then they go, hey man, it's not going to work. And they go, okay, I'm going to pitch to some. So like, you know what I mean? So that if you want to pitch to 3 different publishers without double dipping and being like a rude person, that could take 3 or 4 months of just that part, and you're not writing anything else. So both Matt and I were like, let's just keep working on a ton of stuff. So that's kind of like, I'm obsessed with Jeff Lemire, and I love how much like his output is really inspiring. So I'm trying to constantly have a bunch of like irons in the fire, and Monster Bounty is one of those where like, I'd love to come back to it if someone was into it. But I also don't want to like be obsessed with it and only make that the thing. And if it's, you know, if it doesn't become a thing, sure. But Matt just had a Kickstarter for Gardner, or no, that's coming out soon. But Gardner is like his amazing creator-owned thing that's just like unreal, amazing artwork and story. And he showed us like a preview and stuff, and it's gonna blow everyone away. So Matt's very busy right now. But he told me though, if there was a situation with like a publisher and whatever, we jump back into Monster Bounty.
Cool. So you're actually the 4th person on our show who's contributed to Maybe Someday. We had Renfamous on, we had Matt Miner on, and then we had Greg Alisi on as well. So we've been going back to that book a lot. What was that? Your what is it called, a vignette? Is that what you call it? When it's an anthology series, or your story? Pretty dope. You want to kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think the technical term is little guy. Waiting for the joke to land.
Okay.
So sorry, just getting in storytelling position.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I don't want the name tag to block it.
All right.
So it's called Support Animals, and so kind of like dipping into like the punk rock background thing. The band The Weaker Thens is one of my favorite all-time bands. It was John K. Sampson who was in the band Propagandy, and he ended up leaving to do this really cool indie project. And the lyrics are super amazing, and it's really descriptive and just amazing songwriting. And he had this, it's these 3 songs that came out about a cat named Virtute. I don't know. I used to think it was Virtue when I was younger. Then I realized it's Virtute. Oh, Tyler. Mm-hmm. He's awesome. So the story essentially is, it's the cat's point of view of a guy who's going through depression and going through a hard time. And the whole thing is talking about how, like, dude, you're better than this. Like, stop just watching TV all day and stop binge drinking and stop whatever. And I, in a not as intense way, was going through similar things. And I have 2 cats. So I was just like, how do I project? Oh, Liana. So essentially, I wanted to kind of explore anxiety and depression and do it in like what I would call like the Jono filter. So it's like I'm working out something in my own head on the paper. And it's like also a strange, like, I wish my cat can talk. That would be really cool. And like, he's one of my best friends. So we got to the point where maybe someday it's essentially like a happy Black Mirror anthology. So I was like, I want to be able to do, I don't know, it came to me really fast, but like support animals being like, it's like an emotional support dog or whatever, right? But like in the future, what if there's a way where they can actually talk with you and help you through stuff because they just like hug you and make you feel good. So I was like, if I had my shot of doing a Black Mirror thing, I'd want it to be some kind of version of that. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from.
Those Pixar feels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's like those like gut wrenching, like, whew, okay.
It was resonant. It was pretty resonant with me, but it's also, that's like such a tricky subject to approach because those feelings are so personal and like person specific. So it's cool. It's cool that it connected with me. A lot of those types of things don't always connect with me. So well done. It was good.
You. And I think part of it is like, so I have historically documented every feeling I have, other than obviously pretty intense ones. That's what therapy is for. But like, I've been a very outward person because I want people to relate. Thank you. And I genuinely think it's good to put that stuff out because there's a lot of people, like my music background's a good example where I had pretty personal lyrics. And if people related to that, the intention wasn't like, I put on a shirt today. Everyone's like, I put on a shirt today too. Like,
oh my God.
Like, but when you talk about stuff, like it's stuff that people don't admit that they relate to, and then it starts hitting. And like the support animal story specifically, it doesn't have to be depression or anxiety or whatever. It could just be someone going through a rough time or being too hard on themselves or whatever. And that translates to this bigger feeling of, oh, I could back off and feel okay. And like, not that everything's a choice, but there are some things that are a choice, you know? And I'm fortunately very comfortable talking about that kind of stuff, just having been in like punk and like emo tinged bands where that was like part of it. Like you just open up, and when I'm writing, that's how I do it. So I'm glad you relate on a scale of it or whatever, like it's cool to hear that kind of stuff because that's always like a semi-intention of it where I want people to like, if someone felt something, then it worked. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. And it's very different from the Inevitables.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Where did that come from?
Well, first of all, it's called Range, baby.
Range. I like it.
See,
Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of that? See, I could ruin a moment.
I'm only capable of 2 things, so it's not. I'm jealous.
My 2 things are being deadly serious and then making fart jokes, and those are my 2 personalities that I'll.
Do you ever make fart jokes while being deadly serious? Like,
yeah.
Why don't you pull my finger, kid?
Pretty much, yeah. Or someone pulls my finger and then I start crying, and then they're like,
yeah.
"Wrong finger."
Wrong finger.
No, that was the joke. Get it?
That's good.
I can't control my emotions. So yeah, the Inevitables, obviously another different thing. And part of I even though it's been like 4 or 5 years, I guess, like I very much consider myself warming up in comics, right? Like I've found my writing voice as far as like I guess like articles and essays and prose or whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to comics, like I've been finding what I really dig. So Monster Bounty was kind of a conduit for this, where I was like, I want to write a team book. And Vinny, who's in the band Less Than Jake, reached out to me. And it was on Christmas Day, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. And it was like, hey, want to get on a call? I'm like, is he asking me to join Less Than Jake or something? Like, I don't know what this is about. And it turned into he like had a proposition where he's like, we're starting a new ska supergroup, and it's like people from the Interrupters, Westbound Train, Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, like pretty much like every super big ska band. And he's
Real
like,
Big Fish. I got one. I remembered. I recognize one.
That's good. And like just it's a ska band, so there's always like 25 people in it, so you don't have to name all of them. It's just ellipses at a certain point. But with that though, he was like, we want to do a comic, and I have this really loose idea. So pretty much all the information I was given was like, it's called The Inevitables. I want essentially like something along the lines of like they're dealing with death and the inevitability of death, and like just like young punker, blah blah blah. So it went from like that kind of loose idea to me like listening to some of the songs and just like thinking about it really hard. And I was like, this is a great excuse to do just a cool team up book. But I wanted to do a team up book where it wasn't like the token superhero group, and not even like an Umbrella Academy where it's like, here's like just kind of quirky, whatever. Like I wanted it to be people who don't look like they're heroes. And they're all thrown into this thing. And like, whether they're like, even like physically fit to do so, whether it's age or disability or, all of these things, like one of the main characters is a drug dealer and he's a good guy, so it's like the whole thing was, we want to challenge people's perceptions /perspectives. So the idea was like, let's really dive into that. And because it was an issue 1, how do they all meet each other and how do they learn what's going on and kind of do this whole thing? So it's very much like a cool group action comic. And it was really fun to write because, again, I was like, how do I really focus in and hone in on all these different types of characters, how they speak, how they look, how they do whatever. And we had just a really cool group of people working on it. But like Liana Kangas, who is in the group or was watching or whatever, she is just, me and her put our heads together and she just came up with this amazing stuff. And we had like character designs that we were basing things off of, but like it's her style and the colors and all that stuff that just brings it to life. So it was the idea, the refinement of that idea, and then the execution of it. And the good news is, so we had this awesome Kickstarter. It raised over like $50,000 this summer. And the comics exist and they are in physical form now. And they should be, I think, like in 2 weeks or so, finally like starting to ship out. So yeah.
You can read them while sipping on a nice cup of coffee.
Really?
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah.
Drink
and
over.
to the people in the chat, yeah. People in the chat, if you want to check out this stuff, the link is in the description for this video. So I highly recommend kind of just exploring the Jono catalog because it's pretty cool. I like it. So we're going to kind of shift gears now into some news items that I've diligently gathered, and we're going to start with Bad Idea, which I pretty much like to talk about every chance I get.
Is that the one you want us to pick up?
Well, here's the deal. The other one, the first print, is over there, and I'm wearing my pajamas, so I'm kind of like, what the hell? What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he has comic book pajamas. What?
So this is the first print, and this is the not first print. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and make myself small now. Yeah. So pretty dope. I talked about it a lot last week, but this week I finally read it, and it's like AI that's evil and wants to destroy everybody, and just it's way smarter than that, but it's pretty awesome. And there's assassins and boobs. So I highly recommend it. But
that's the name of the comic. Assassins and boobs.
But so funny story. So the Bad Idea.
How ridiculous is this? That's ridiculous. That's that's
egregious.
This is why I hate capitalism. This is stupid. This is not okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Yeah, definitely. But no. So Bad Idea only had a few approved stores, and they insisted that the stores sell these books at cover price. But last week, a store just kind of broke the rules, and we're selling it at like inflated above cover price. So Bad Idea cut them off. They've been removed. Like they're not getting any more Bad Idea comics. So they're sticking to it. They're sticking to their guns.
While eBay has a $1,200 one sitting there,
right? But that's eBay.
What can you do? Yeah, what can you do about it? You can't do anything about it.
I spent $3.99, or excuse me, $3.99 on this comic book because I pre-ordered it. So you know what I mean.
That is. I tell you what. Not even. I wouldn't sell it, but it's still kind of like when you miss the hype train. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what the prices are like on eBay in a month or two.
The story's rocking. Like I just want to keep reading the story at this point.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's because you let me and Ree know multiple times. Hey, I just ordered mine. Hey, he said I can only it's only one per customer, so I can't pick you guys up. Hey, here's the number. This is the and I'm like, and I remember I'm going to work. I'm looking at stuff. I'm driving. Oh, okay, yeah. I have to do that one day. And I just like, I didn't do it. And then and then I'm like, oh my God, this is blowing up Twitter. Let me just try to grab one real quick.
You know, I was looking at this graph the other day. That kind of like showed the correlation between snoozing and losing, and I'll forward it to you. It's pretty interesting. But
yeah. On one axis, it was everything Robo has ever done in his life. Yeah.
So, Jono, you mentioned I'm gonna skip Children of the Atom and Eternals because I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But you were talking about WandaVision. Have you finished it? Are you caught up? Did you read the whole? Did you watch the finale?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I watched the whole thing.
How badass!
Oh, so good.
It's so good.
Really, yeah.
I have been rushing to finish it, not because of spoilers, but because of discourse about what's happening in the show. I hate if I'm not in before people start arguing about things about it. It's so easy to just add a bias that you don't want, you know?
Right.
So like, for example, I watched it like as it aired when it went up. And it was the scene with Vision and Wanda on the bed and having that discussion. That's like one of my favorite things that's ever happened in a Marvel movie or a Marvel cinematic universe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the comics I wrote and stuff, like I'm very Mr. Dialogue, like that's my thing. And it brought me back to like the Vision comic from Tom King.
Draws a lot from that.
Yeah, and like I love the idea of you watch Vision just break and try to be human for like 1 second, and the way they do it, it's not like shoving it in your face, but it's like this like cute, almost like very romantic thing. But they cut the scene, and then it has to go to a next thing before you get more of it. And I was like, oh, my heart. Like, and then, and it's the moments like that that add the gravity to everything else happening in the show. Because I'm obsessed with Batman Beyond. And I don't know if either of you listen to it.
It's pretty shway. Are you talking about the cartoon?
Oh,
Batman Beyond?
Batman Beyond.
I don't know what that is.
It's Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin.
Okay.
So like Mark Bernardin, I just love his brain. He's a super smart dude, and he has really good critiques of stuff. And what he was talking about with WandaVision was if we weren't essentially bred to have 10 years of Marvel, we would probably not be sticking around for the second episode, because when the first one aired, everyone's like, the hell
What was that?
And they dropped 2, which I feel like is on purpose, because it's like, no, we want you to read this whole, like, this trade essentially, because it's a miniseries. So if I bought that as one thing, I would be, I would go through the whole thing. But if it was a single episode and I didn't know anything about Marvel, I'd be like, I don't know, like that. That's what Mark Bernardin was talking about. But as someone who's like a super fan, and the Vision was one of my favorite comics, and all these things leading to this point, I was like, they're doing the Pleasantville thing. I fucking knew it. And like all of the things that started happening, because at first you're just like, oh, they're just having fun recreating this stuff. Cool. And then they start adding meaning behind every single thing. And there's Easter eggs and actual intrigue. And like all of us are talking at the water cooler about it. You know what I mean? The internet now. Like that's what made it so fun. So like with the question being like the fan theories and stuff, to me, it reminds me of like Lost, where people are like, I bet blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people will get pissed off because the things that they thought would happen or wanted to happen didn't happen. But
Lost that's all right. That's a valid anger, because Lost gave you nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And still nothing answered. Bye-bye forever. Like, what?
But like similar to Twin Peaks, some people love it because they don't have the answers, so they want to keep watching to learn more. And the same with like Damon Lindelof said in an interview where like going from like Lost all the way years later to Watchmen, he was like, my goal is to create intrigue and not confusion, because Lost created a lot of confusion and not necessarily intrigue. And that's why people can get angry, right? I'm an emotional sucker. So when I watched Lost, I cried like a baby on the last episode. We were in like New Jersey in my friend's house. It was like 4 a.m. and I watched it on my laptop, and I was like trying to like silently sob on the last day of tour. And I'm like, I can't wake him up with my crying. But like, so that's me, right? But going back to WandaVision, like they built up all this really cool stuff, and maybe people didn't get what they want, but we did get answers. And similar to professional wrestling or comics as a medium, you just keep stretching it. You keep adding to the never-ending story that is Marvel, right? So
right. There was a part in the finale that I just loved, and it was when the two Visions were talking about the what's it called, the Theseus ship, the ship of Theseus. And I was like watching it, and I was thinking, this is the perfect conversation for this situation. It like really, it's the big question. Like, what is you? What are you? What makes you you? And it's super interesting. And I love the climax. Like, yeah, the whole show's great, but I think it's kind of like what you said. Like, it's those little moments leading up that give meaning. Like, that's why, like, when you watch like when you watch like just something dumb, like a Michael Bay movie, and there's all these moving parts, all this action, it's kind of surprising how boring all this movement and action really is when there's so little drama backing it up. And with WandaVision, like you're watching the whole episode, and finally you have these showdowns and climaxes, and there's just so much gravity and weight behind it, and so much emotional energy. It was just super, super exciting. So yeah, I give it a thumbs up.
And they didn't lean on that action though. Like, it happened, and it gave fans what they wanted, especially the ones that were bitching the first 3 episodes. But it was like, okay, here's that. But it still had those moments where you were like really thinking about what was happening and the philosophy behind it, and the healing in the.
There's one part I didn't like. All right, here's the part I didn't like. What is it? I think it was not Captain Marvel, but the other Captain Marvel, Monica, she said something to like about the townspeople. She was like, "And you have no idea what she sacrificed for you." And I'm like, "Shut up! She's been torturing them for what?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, we're supposed to feel bad. We're supposed to feel bad for her losing her imaginary children. Like of all the people in the world, these people don't have to feel bad for her.
Also, hey everyone, spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry everybody.
We didn't pick up on that yet. But yeah. But that is the one discourse where like I was taken out for a second with that because I was like, what? Like it was a really strange sense, and I get it because the idea is it's still personifying the person after all that, but like. I was like, I want to know more about why you said that because you can't be like, I don't know, I just felt it. Okay, tell me more.
Yeah,
it's just a thing. Like, and as we see in the post credit sequence, there's going to be more involving her, and
probably,
you know,
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, or you know, probably knowing Marvel, they could like it's actually 7 movies from now. You'll get it later.
Right, it'll matter at some point. Yeah.
So that's what's like interesting about it because kind of what I was talking about before where it's like they're playing the long game like and that's the point of the show. That's Disney Plus exists. So at the end of Endgame you're like there's these certain setups where I'm like I feel like all they're doing is just building up 50 extra things and it's not even like here's the definitive ending of this thing. It's just get ready, go.
It just never ends. But stories get resolved, but it never ends.
Exactly.
I know that Nick Fury's in space with a bunch of Skrulls, and he's doing something incredibly important, and I have no idea what that thing is. Retirement. Yeah. I would date a Skrull. I would definitely date a Skrull if I wasn't with my wonderful fiance. I would definitely date a Skrull.
Phew, dodged that one. Yeah, no, that's definitely. So here's a question. Because I feel like especially between like 3 of us in this whole thing, there's like an elephant in the room. Was there any part that you felt that did you what was up? So you gave a part you didn't like, Judah. Is there any part that you didn't like that where you're like, I didn't really like how they did that, Jono?
I mean, I think the Monica Rambeau quote was one of them where like, because that just felt strange. And not like in like a cool mystical way, but like
like a little tone deaf. It just seemed a little tone deaf.
Yeah. And I think, so the funny thing for me is like the way the story was building, like I almost didn't want to see these big like flying battle things. Like I almost like didn't care at that point. Like because I liked the other part so much more. And then once that started happening, I'm like, oh, they have to do that. And I know that's like the point of comics for most people, but like I was so suckered into like everything they built leading to that point.
That's right.
And like this is also like a positive / negative. Like I wish I knew more about things that were happening. Like you get like you're introduced to certain characters. Like Agatha's super cool. I'm like, hell yeah. And I know they're building it up for later stuff. That's when that's going to happen. But it was like, build up. All right. And I was like, oh.
It was her all along.
Right.
Yeah. But like, and again, without giving the ending away, but like the ending where I was like, oh, that's it? Okay, cool. So yeah, there's like little moments like that. But overall though, like I loved it. Like, and I knew, just because I'm again like a vision sucker, like I was like, this is gonna be cool. Because to me, there's nothing more like interesting than how do we personify a thing that's not human. But dude, Elizabeth Olsen, like crushed it. She like seeing her have range and seeing the character get depth, and like I didn't know she could do all that, and I think she like that shows. And Scarlet Witch aside, is going to make her career like next level, take her seriously shit, you know.
She's surpassed 100%. The twins. She's definitely surpassed the twins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Because like this show is like her real. Like it's like, oh yeah, I can do everything. Have you seen
Yeah.
WandaVision? I've played all of it.
Angry, crying, yeah, and it was all good, believable.
So Robo asked you that partially. May I? Robo was asking you that because he wanted you to. He was hoping that you'd be like, "Yeah, I was really bummed out that Peter, Evan Peters wasn't the Quicksilver from the Fox universe."
No, that wasn't it. That's projection. But the
But it's not.
But
But it's not
there
because I'm happy that didn't happen.
No. What I'm saying is that I asked it because everybody is everybody's giving their negative, so I didn't want to like come out with something negative. Like, wait, let's make this a thing. Let's try that out. Yeah. I knew no one is as upset about it as me. I understand that I'm the minority here. And without going into it, I will say this much. And I put most of this in our Discord. Here's the deal: is I'm not upset that he wasn't the actual mutant Fox's Quicksilver. I'm not upset that mutants were not introduced. I'm not upset that I was wrong. The part that kind of irritated me was the switcheroo that I didn't find cute. I didn't find funny or entertaining. I think they knew exactly what they were doing, and I think when we were left with a cliffhanger, and he was wearing the exact haircut, he had the leather coat on, and he opens the door, and there's Evan Peters. Boom, credits. There's a point that they're trying to do. There's a thing they're doing right there, and it's like, and then which just matches the whole Winky thing of Hackett and all that. The whole song. The whole singing at the end, the whole is like, I got you because it was me. And so she didn't just get Wanda, she got some of the viewers too. And I just wish they hadn't done it with that. And so my main argument that we go back and forth with is not, was it good to do that, or I wished it was real. My main argument, if you're being sincere about it, is with the people that say that's not what they were trying to do. And anybody that says that that's not what they were trying to do, that's the one that makes me like.
So do you mean the Quicksilver switcheroo?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, very obviously it's Marvel is just messing with people,
That's right.
And like, I'm sure that can take some people out of it or whatever, but in the show, when they say he got recast or whatever, they're not going with the other one from the, like, they don't have to say that because
they know we know.
Because also Chris Evans is Captain America, but he was in the Fantastic Four. They're not going to acknowledge that. So so they're able to play with that stuff to have fun with it. But what's genius about it is the fact that they got everyone going, it's happening, the multiverse. Oh man, that's how they're going to bring everyone. Because at the end, she's going to say, "No more mutants." What if she says there are mutants? I started seeing like all of that discourse and stuff. And which again, that's what got me more hyped to watch it. Because I'm like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And then they'd be like, actually, we're over here. And that's the stuff could happen down the road. Who knows? That could be the end of the next Doctor Strange movie.
Maybe.
Yeah, right. Like, but what I thought was cool is like they very on purpose are setting up people to have conversations about this stuff. And they're like, we're going to give you a half truth. Now we're going to dip out, do what you want. And so that's how I felt that was. And I think it was super smart. And I'm sure maybe it took some people away from it, but like, to me, they were messing with your brain just like they did in Far From Home, because when they're like
there's J. Jonah, there's the same J. Jonah,
there's that, and then there's also, they talked about the multiverse, and then at the end they're like, there's no multiverse, like what are you talking about? And so like they've been doing this thing for a long time, so when we finally get Miles, which I think will either be the main thing or the end of the next Spider-Man, like it's gonna like punch everyone in the gut, because we've been like, oh, it's not here yet. Oh, it's almost here,
Right.
But that's what makes it so exciting, because then it's like the end of Endgame, but bringing in literally everyone finally, So it's gonna happen, I think.
let me address this real quick because I don't want to make it appear to the people who are in our Discord that I'm walking anything back. I'm not walking anything back. I am absolutely unreasonably irritated at the notion of here's the person, and it may or may not be Judah, Polly, and Ben. Here are the people. Oh, really? You thought that Fox? Nah. It was clear they weren't doing that. Like, no.
But here's
they
but here's
absolutely were.
I'm
But
sorry,
Jonah Jameson.
I just have to interject here, though. Like, there are a lot of people that knew that wasn't going to happen, and they knew it because of. And there's a wait. But there's a reason they knew it. The reason they knew it, but you're saying that they led us to believe that, and I'm saying that they
100%.
definitely they didn't lead us to believe it because there was nothing multiversal about the series. Like, ignoring the meta stuff, if you're hyper focused on the meta, like, well, now they own Fox, so it could happen. If you ignore that and just stay with the story was not going there.
No, wrong. Absolutely wrong. So check this out. We've already established, right? Jono just said what he said, and everybody's like, "Yep, that makes sense." Yep, you could tell this was the yanking around thing. This was like we're gonna do something. They're not doing a cliffhanger on an episode for somebody who's like, and then the next episode, and everybody turns off the episode, like going, that's cool.
But they had to. They were definitely going. They were definitely going for the meta and maybe a little bit of speculation, but I feel like they balanced it with, well, these people are also watching the show, and you know what I mean. They're also aware of the plot of the show, you know. So, I don't know. I don't think they anticipated this level of buy-in.
He had the same hair. He had the leather jacket, and it was the cliffhanger. It was literally supposed to look like the Fox's Silver Surfer, Quicksilver. It was. I wish it was Silver Surfer. But here's the deal: is and I'll leave it at this. It's not that I'm wrong. I know that people are like, oh, you're just mad that it didn't happen, or you're mad that it was no. I'm like, because I remember when they did the Ralph Boner thing, because that was what I was waiting for from the last time. I'm like, what's going on with this dude? And then Ralph Boner. And all I said was, I wasn't mad. I wasn't anything. I was like, he called it. Judah called it the day of. Literally at credits, you said, it's a random dude from the neighborhood. And I was like, bet. Like, he did it. He called it. I never got irritated. And then we can move on if you want. I never got irritated outside of what the entire internet is guessing, like, are they doing a Fox's thing with the Infinity Stones, with reality changing, with the purchase of Disney, with the fact that he fucking opened the door looking exactly like the Quicksilver from the Fox universe, and then go, I don't understand. What J. Jonah Jameson? Like, no, that's not the same.
So to jump in as the calm, collected voice.
No,
so I got to get over this thing.
Man, I could go for a coffee right now.
Kind of the west. There it is. All right. So they very much were doing that on purpose. 100 million, billion, zillion %. Yes. They were trying to make you go, oh, this is the Fox thing, because all it was just like, I always call it like the Twinkie at the end of the treadmill, where it's like people are going to keep running forever and they're never going to get it. So like, that was a play on purpose. They wanted you to obviously think that was him. So it made everyone freak out, talk about it, lose their shit. But now that they're able to have that stuff, they're like someone said in the chat, they're able to play with those toys, but they can do it to fuck with you now too. So that's all that was. But what I love though, is like we talked about before, is like, so to your point, yes, they did that on purpose. Absolutely. But the thing is, they split everyone to argue on purpose about it. Is this actually what's happening? Is the multiverse happening now? Or is this just inner story, someone messing with someone else? Because the cool thing is I mean, even if you look at like Deadpool as a character, right? Like, he's going to be in the MCU soon. And he breaks the fourth wall all the time. And there's all these rules that can break because it's a comic book. So like with Wanda and this, she's creating the reality based on trauma that she's dealt with, and she's changing all of these things that don't have to make sense for everyone else. And like that's what makes it so intriguing for me, because this whole thing has just been like, come on, Marvel fans, ready? And everyone's like, yeah. So like, so that's kind of what the whole show was. So to your point, Super was supposed to be that one to trick people, and it's not.
100%. And that's where and you can have the last word, Judah. That's where I think where my brain like went into like complete spaz mode, punching holes in all over the room. No, I'm just kidding. But was like in my head since the reveal, that was the two sides. It was me versus whoever, me and Reeve versus whoever. Let's go back and forth. Let's do this. And then and then at the end, like any other thing, like boom, someone's right. Okay, it looks like that's not what's gonna happen. But I keep repeating myself now. But it's like, no, to say that that's not what they were doing. That's the one that's just like.
So I get the last word.
Get it?
Okay, Robo's a toxic fanboy. All right, next subject. Next subject. I'm just kidding. You can. He's not. He's not.
Okay. Also 4 words, but keep going.
Okay. So I saw a trailer today. It just came out, and it's a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game, and it looks like kind of an old school side-scrolling fighting game, kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember Streets of Rage, but it looks a lot like that. And it kind of looks like the original Turtles game, but I have no idea what platform it is. But the part that really jumped out at me is Mike Patton from Faith No More and Mr. Bungle is the guy singing the theme during the trailer. So nice to know that he still exists and he's still alive. I happen to love old school Faith No More. So
yeah, and Mike Patton also has done crazy voices and sound effects for like movies and TV shows for years. Because like if one of you gets bored while we're doing this, probably when I'm talking at some point, like you can look up Mike Patton's like credits, because I forgot, like it was like Aliens and something or whatever it is, but
what? No.
I thought you were taking a photo. I'm just doing my natural thing.
Oh no, that was me. Never mind.
Looking it out. He's looking it up.
Just do a candid thing. Oh yeah. But yeah, anyway, Mike Patton, like he has an awesome track record of like his voice he's like a classically trained like operatic singer, but he could do like really creepy, strange sound effects and stuff. So he actually does that for like a living outside of the band and stuff. It's super cool.
What came first, Mike? The song "Epic No More" or the song the Anthrax and Public Enemy collaboration, "Bring to Noise"? Which of those? Because whichever one of those came first, I'm pretty sure invented rap metal or rap rock.
These are
somebody Google it. Someone in the chat. Someone go ahead and Google that.
Well, I think the Run DMC Aerosmith was the first rap rock. And then that was rap metal, maybe.
So the Run DMC Aerosmith, that wasn't like a new studio song with the two of them though. That was a remix, right? Like there was a Run DMC remix of Walk This Way, or maybe I'm wrong.
I watched whatever Rick Rubin documentary thing, and I don't remember, so I'm glad I could help with the conversation.
Okay. I thought you were a music expert, and I'm a little bit disappointed now. Anyway,
I'm not an expert at anything, but there's one thing I'm an expert at.
A good cup of Joe.
Picking good coffee.
So did either of you guys happen to see the new Snyder Cut, Justice League Snyder Cut trailer that came out? And like on the Snyder Cut Twitter, there's like a whole bunch of little clips. The new trailer is like very Flash centric. Didn't you guys get a look at that?
Did it just come out?
It just came out.
I didn't see it yet.
Well, it's I thought it was neat. I know a lot of people are very ambivalent or even like anti the Snyder Cut, and that's totally understandable because I think Release the Snyder Cut fans are douchebags or something like that. But I'm still super excited to watch it on HBO.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I was just about to say that the Release of Snyder Cut like topic is our new like Comicsgate kind of like conversation where like every week we're gonna say something mad or it's like these people pissed us off again. And so I was sitting here waiting for like, and it's fucking horrible. And then you were like,
No.
and it was pretty good. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, I thought it was dope. It's like the Flash, and he's like running really fast as he often does, and kind of implies that he's breaking like the time barrier, like Flashpoint almost. And yeah, it just kind of gives me that like, I don't know. It was nice to see a more serious version of the Flash. Kind of reminds me of like Jeff Johns comics. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch the hell out of the Snyder Cut when it comes out. I'm excited to see Superman, Batman, the Flash, maybe Green Lantern. We don't know. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about it. That's all I have to say.
For those that are here,
I'm rambling now.
For those that are here, it comes out on the 18th, right?
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna just
on the 19th. Yeah, this month. I'm not wearing a watch. I looked at my wrist anyway. On the on the 18th, it comes out. On the 19th, us and Chris Runt, who is a comic book creator, and what's the book he writes? I feel like we should know that. He's a buddy.
It's good.
It'll be in the descriptions. We're gonna do a live show, and we're gonna be like totally spoilers, and we're gonna rant, and we're gonna watch it all on the 18th. Jono, if you have time, you're more than welcome to join us because you're a funny motherfucker. I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you. I don't know what day it is now, so I probably won't be able to make it.
I think I gotta wash my hair that day or something. I don't know.
That's something that came up. I don't know.
It'll be like Robo and Ree and whoever else is watching knocking it, and it's going to be me being like, "Shh, guys, I'm trying to watch this one part. Come on."
It's not a watch. It's not a watch party. It's not a watch party.
It's not that bad. Oh, okay, never mind. Well,
yeah, we're watching it on the 18th, and we're doing a live show on the 19th to just rant about it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's good to know what.
So without digging in and making it like a whole controversial thing. So, like you were talking about, the whole Snyder Cut thing has been such a wildly polarizing thing. A lot of it being from the fan base side of just like, especially like even some of my like friends that are like creators and stuff, just like threatening them and doing a bunch of awful stuff. So my personal take, pardon me for not remembering, but who jumped in when Snyder left? Was it Joss?
It was Joss. Yeah.
Okay, so now we know that all this awful stuff about Joss Whedon, right? So this is a very specifically bizarre thing because at the time everyone's like, "Oh, fuck Snyder," blah blah blah, and then everyone's like, "Joss Whedon's kind of a bad guy. That sucks." Like that's a whole thing, and then everyone, like all of the Buffy cast, like all this stuff. So it is like a total mind fuck, really, because like when I saw the original Justice League in theaters, I literally walked out and I was like, that's the first time in a long time I felt like I wasted my money. Like it was just like, it felt like a not great 1994 movie, like Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? When I was a little kid, it was badass.
With worse music, yeah.
And like the CGI like was just like it actually felt like a waste. And I never try and shit on stuff. Like I would be like, oh, it's not for me. Like it absolutely was not for me.
Mm-hmm.
But very rarely in like the DC EU or whatever, like the first Wonder Woman I thought was good. And there were like other parts of things that were good, but like this iteration of the Justice League, not a big fan. So when it was like, but hear me out. What if we make it longer? That's such a bad selling point to me. But like digging through the, I guess like the discourse or whatever, like I am intrigued, but if someone's like, it was pretty good, I'm not going to watch it because 4.5 hours for something that's pretty good, it won't do it for me.
So straight up, fuck the toxic Snyder Cut fans. Like they can kiss my ass. Like there's no excuse to harass people over a fucking movie. Grow up. But my allegiance to Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, like that's where my heart is like I'm excited to see the characters on the screen again. So that's the draw for me. I don't care about like I definitely do not align with like those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I am excited on the screen again. And I didn't love the Justice League when it came out. I don't think I disliked it as much as you did. And I will say that I watched it again on HBO after I saw it in theaters, and I liked it better the second time. And that could be because I just disliked it the first time. So my expectations were so low that when I watched it on HBO, I was like, oh, but wait, that part's kind of cool. And then I was like pleasantly surprised to be enjoying it. But, there's a lot of, that apparently Joss Whedon ruined it. So maybe it's good. Maybe all the cool parts got cut. I don't know. You know what I mean?
And like you have to keep in mind too, like I almost said Scott Snyder a million times. Zack Snyder.
I do it every time.
Yeah, like so what happened with his daughter is super awful, right? So like that's why he left. So there's so much baggage involved with this specific film that like it's already tainted in a huge percentage of people's minds because of everything that went into it, right? Like, dude went through awful stuff, left. Guy came in. Guy is apparently very bad. That sucks. Also, the movie was not great. Like, and I'm sure there are people who like it. Cool. Again, not for me. It's not bad. It's just, again, not for me. I always have to state that so I'm not like, no, your opinion's wrong. Because, dude, people like some bands that my brain can't compute, and I completely understand.
I'll have you know, if you said it sucks, I would immediately make the leap. Oh, his opinion is that it sucks. I wouldn't think that you were making a qualifying statement about it.
But you have to keep in mind though, is like Mortal Kombat the movie when I was young was amazing. It was one of my favorite movies because I was
just the soundtrack alone was just like this is the.
I'm afraid to watch it again because I haven't seen it since then, and I'm afraid to watch it again because I liked it too. But I watched The Matrix again, and I was like, wow. CGI's come a long way. It kind of pulled me out of it. So
yeah, and CGI aside, like Mortal Kombat specifically, like you're seeing those characters on screen, and you're like, I've been playing these video games my whole life. Oh my god, I can't believe it's happening. This is the coolest. So Justice League was that for a lot of people, but this is my big gripe with the DC stuff as far as like movies is they're. Well, we'll talk about Mortal Kombat Annihilation after this.
Where they killed Johnny Cage.
Oh my god. So like, see, this happened because I just started thinking about Mortal Kombat again. Oh yeah, so Justice League. So that and Suicide Squad, like without getting these backstories of other people and building to a thing, it was like, let's just do it now. And then the backstory of all these people are like, the way they introduced the characters in Justice League, I thought was very poorly done. Because it was like, let's spend 10 minutes showing them little clips in a row. And I was like, that's not a good way of doing that. That's what movies are for. So we're supposed to like emotionally feel for these characters, assuming we already know them, which we do as comic fans. But like, I don't know the movie version of them. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. They're already all there. And then there's already this big threat. And but it's like a guy who no one gives a shit about. So I'm like, I was just like, like there was just like a few things that were strange, knowing that like Darkseid was like supposed to be there, then it makes you think maybe that's why it happened because they had to re-edit stuff and they had to cut stuff and they had to do whatever. Cool. So that's more points for this next thing or whatever. But like, then you look at like Suicide Squad where I'm like, why would you start? You were introducing all. Okay, so let's talk about Suicide Squad. So aside from several things, my biggest gripe with that is it's our introduction to the film version of all of these villains. And they start them as good guys. And that is such a backwards idea.
It is backwards.
Because the idea of that came after all of these people have been around for a while.
Well,
so like that's why it's crazy because they flipped it.
their mindset, and I can't say I 100%. I definitely see where you're coming from, and I agree for the most part. But to kind of steelman where I think they're coming from, it's that these characters are so ubiquitous in our culture. Everybody knows who Harley Quinn is. Everybody knows who, everyone knows who these people are. So like maybe there's this idea that we don't have to go through their origin. We're just gonna pick a piece of their life and start there. And expect the audience to already sort of understand who they are and sort of take their past for granted.
Well, I think what they did was they took the idea of let's not show Batman's parents getting killed for the 1 millionth time, but they applied the Martha pearls to everything, and I think that was kind of a problem. Like who the hell's Boomerang? Like if you don't know everything about comics, you don't know who the hell that is. And like all of these like character or Captain Boomerang, sorry, but like there's all of these characters like that where they could have just rearranged it.
Yeah, I see where you're coming. I agree. So this is kind of a bummer, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. So if you guys see my shirt right now, this is the Frank Thorne Red Sonja off of Marvel Red Sonja #1, illustrated by Frank Thorne. And he passed away this week at the age of 90. He's a legendary Red Sonja artist. A lot of creators who were inspired by his work kind of came out on Twitter and expressed their connection to him. Gail Simone, who wrote, I think, one of the best Red Sonja runs, probably I would say that even the defining Red Sonja run now, came out and kind of explained what an influence he was and how seeing his work kind of got her into comics and inspired her even like at a young age. So, I mean, 90's a pretty good lifetime. And he definitely accomplished a lot, but he'll definitely be missed. I'm definitely going to miss him. Have you guys read any of any Red Sonja or any of the Gail Simone Red Sonja?
I never did. I've heard about it forever, and I've almost always got into it, and I just haven't started.
It's pretty awesome. And like what I like about the character is, yeah, okay, she's like hot, she wears bikini armor, but she is like full-blooded, full on a warrior. Like she doesn't shower, she doesn't like do any like hygiene. They're always talking about how much she like stinks. She's like she eats like an animal, like grabs like the turkey leg and just buries her face in it. Like she is a barbarian, and it's awesome. And she cuts people's fucking heads off. So yeah, I definitely recommend. I recommend the Gale run, and I recommend the older like Frank Thorne era stuff as well. But anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And then another sad thing. I shouldn't have put the two sad things as the last two items, but
we'll bring it back up after, don't worry.
We're gonna have to just improvise and bring it back up after this next one. So
after these downers,
one of my former favorite Silver Age artists and writers, Jim Steranko.
Oh, yeah. This
motherfucker. So Jim Steranko, man, like he illustrated old Nick Fury, and his style is like so iconic. It like defines it defines Silver Age Marvel in so many ways. Like I would say he's almost at the Kirby, Buscema, Ditko like tier of like Silver Age artists. Apparently he's a big dick. And for me it was like I went through the stages of denial with him because he was doing like pro-Trump tweets. Well, so first I realized that watching his Twitter, I realized he was a Republican, and I was like, oh great, but I can still like an artist who's a Republican. It's just, that's a thing about him that I don't like. And then looking through his Twitter, like he started like minimizing COVID. And then I saw that he was a Trump supporter, and he did cross the line this week because he tweeted out, and I'm not going to read the whole tweet, but it had the words Chinese virus in it. And this is a time when Asian Americans are experiencing heightened levels of racially based attacks. So like what a dick you have to be to kind of like be stoking prejudice during a time when it's at its highest in decades. So anyway, fuck Jim Steranko.
And like to, I guess, add to that too, there's a whole mentality of I don't personally see it, so it's not happening. And that's why
Mhm.
there's people that don't feel like real remorse or empathy, because I looked out my window and I didn't see it. People are just mad on Twitter all the time, you know?
That's it.
So that's one thing I've had, like a big wake up call for me was, so I'm based in Flint and I don't live in the city of Flint. But like I've been in this area for 20 years. And when the water crisis was happening and my friends
Still happening, right?
Yeah. So there's never been, it's like there was a question mark and then someone like erased half of it and they kind of were just like, we'll get the rest later. That's the best metaphor for it, I guess. But when it was happening, like people online started talking shit and being like, okay, get over yourselves. Like the water's bad. Oh, whatever. Like man up, drink. Like people were saying that. There's a thing about like Flint girls specifically, like in inner city schools where people are like, oh, you're one of those dirty Flint girl. Like there was like Flint specific prejudice happening.
How much that pissed you off?
Dude, it's insane because with like, and again, being privileged as fucking white, like you start seeing the real side of things and it's right in front of your face. And you're like, people are able to deny this? This is insane. They're like, and that, like, I was already like, you know, punk rock kid growing up and whatever. And I was like fairly, you know, politically active and all this. But then when I started like seeing like the in real life stuff happening all the time, that's when I started being like, okay, this shit can happen to anyone. And, you know, what's happening to like Asian Americans right now and just happening to, I mean, you name it, like there's people being shitty. So when it comes to, we'll bring it back up at the end of this point, but like there's a way of being civil with people, but there's also an important
line.
Yeah. And like it's our responsibility as people who are aware of the stuff that's happening to say something if we see it. And by saying that, you know, there's different ways you can do that. You can say fuck you and flip someone off. You can have a conversation with them and actually get them to speak on what they're talking about and be like, okay, like I totally hear you. And I get, maybe you had, you know, you were raised a certain way, you're doing whatever, but this is my perspective of it. And you talk to them and everyone thinks you're going to just yell at them. And when it's two people just yelling back and forth, nothing gets done. It feels really good. Nothing gets done. So there's this super important thing where like, I have been finding the fine line of tolerance and putting up with people and finally speaking my piece, you know? Because like I'm a very leftist person, right? But I'm not like, if someone talks to me at the grocery store, I'm not going to interview them about their political beliefs because there's no point. So all of us should be able to still have the human connection with people. But if people are actively justifying doing shitty things, if they're putting other people's rights to the side, like there are just these things that we don't have to put up with anymore.
And he's not just you and me and Robo. He has a platform. You know what I mean? He's a public figure. He's been around for a long time. He's inspired people to be into comics. Like there's a great power, great responsibility element that makes him calling it the Chinese virus to his however many followers a whole nother level of shitty. He's actively making things worse for people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
which is always interesting because he's actually 180. He's actually 187 years old. So you think that if anybody was going to take the plague seriously, it's going to be him.
And so, how old is he, by the way? Do you know?
I know that he was an artist in like the early 60s. So he must have been like in his 20s in the early 60s. I'd put him around 90 to be honest, just kind of guessing.
Okay, so my and this is in no way a justification, but there's like this unfortunate given for certain age groups, and it's not like being ageist thing, but it's like I think the way we are now, where we're like our world of comics, there's like these really cool, inclusive people and publishers and all this stuff, but you think about it's the same with like tattoos, where like if I see people with tattoos, it doesn't mean they like punk rock, they just have tattoos. So if you're into comics, it doesn't mean that you're politically aligned a certain way, even if these characters reflect that, right? So like you just did superhero stuff. So you think about him and you think about how old he is, the time he's from, and the fact that he's using social media at all, being 80 years old. Like, you know what I mean? So again, it's not a justification, but it's saying, like, imagine if everyone actively used Twitter, we'd hear a lot more of this kind of stuff. It's the stuff where, like, you go to like a family's thing and you hear someone's uncle say some racist stuff and you're like, really, dude? Like, that happens? People are like that, you know? So it's the unfortunate shitty thing, but it's also like, see, dude?
Yeah, none of it is surprising, but I'll tell you what, if Bernie can do it, then fuck everyone else who can't. That's all I'm saying. Did we want to bring it back up? Because I know that Danny wanted to talk. Is anybody?
Danny brought up Heroes Reborn.
I haven't read any.
Listen, Danny. I know that. I know this.
We are always picking on Danny because Danny, I think, is the purest, most wholesome dude I know. Because Danny's like, look, if it's fucking superheroes, I'm gonna give it a chance and I'm gonna like it, even if it's bad. And I think I'm gonna hear about Heroes Reborn. Let's hear it. So
here's the deal. I read that it's nothing. They're borrowing the name. It's not gonna be anything like the '90s Heroes Reborn that happened. It was kind of like a year of alternate. Like, it was almost like a test run for the Ultimate Universe. It was like a year of rebooting all of Marvel, and then turns out it was just a little pocket universe created by what's his name? Reed Richards' son. Why am I drawing? Huh?
Oh, Legion.
Ben Franklin.
No. Franklin Richards. Yeah, it was
Franklin Richards. That's what it is. Yeah.
It was Franklin Richards' pocket universe. So they've already announced that that's not what this new iteration of Heroes Reborn is. It's going to be like a very short, couple months event that takes place in an alternate reality that eventually it'll just be like poof and it'll go back to normal Marvel continuity. So I don't know. I feel like that happens so often. I'm sure there's a good chance it'll be good. There's a lot of talented people involved with it. I think I saw that there's some I think Esad Ribic is involved, and I love his art. Like, there's a lot of very talented people involved.
Wow.
But as someone who just kind of likes to see the story move forward, sometimes with like Marvel, when they just kind of venture off and do like an alternate reality thing that I know is not going to have long-term implications, it sucks the wind out of it a little bit for me.
When there's no stakes, it's kind of like,
right.
If something is a really strong standalone story, then that's amazing. But once in a while, like, I know it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and you kind of just are like, I could keep going.
Yeah,
that's how I felt about the Ultimate Universe, and then Secret Wars happened. So
there's some great Ultimate shit, man.
But that whole premise is exactly why I didn't. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't affect 616. I don't really care. But then we got Miles out of it. We got a couple things out of it. And then I know that Esad has from some of the people we've talked to, has a reputation of being like
very selective
on who he's like. Are you great? If you're not, then go somewhere else, because he knows his worth, right? And so the fact that Esad is on this project, we might get some badass stories out of it. And we all know money talks. So
who am I kidding? I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, if it's great, then they're gonna be like they'll figure out a way. They'll figure out a way.
Cool.
All right.
Well, Jono, I just want to thank you for joining us. It was fun. We liked having you here, and it was fun talking about your work and kind of picking your brain a little bit. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for having me. Oh, sorry. I gotta adjust my posture for a second.
Right on.
Ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, that's the end of our show. Thank you again. I wrote it down. That way I can just be like, don't forget to check out The Inevitables, Monster Bounty, and Jetpack Zach. The link to find all that stuff is in the description. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsor, John Simmons Sin Eater. That is already funded on Kickstarter. Appreciate everyone coming out. And what else?
Wash your hands. Wear a mask. Oh, wait. Say that again.
Oh, no. I was just saying that's how you eat a butthole. See ya.
That's how you eat a butthole. Peace out.